All all right, greetings everyone. Hope you all are doing well today. It is day 80 of my 90-day challenge. We are on to our last 10 days here. Can you imagine this when we started this on, I believe it was January 5th? Oh man, this can you believe that how far? Yeah, January 5th is when we started this challenge. And can you just imagine being able to, see results on your New Year's resolution? Hopefully, all of you who have created New Year's resolutions or New Year, New Me, hopefully you are still on track on your own personal goals, and especially for us here, we're talking about our health goals. So definitely, hopefully, you are getting those mini victories towards those goals, right? So, but yeah, once again, it, we love to have those, big results. We want those short term gratifications and results, but um, it it takes a lot to get through there, and we're not willing to sometimes put that much effort in a short period of time. We like to, even when we do, especially when it comes to health, right? We don't seem to, at the same time, give in to. We want to change, but at the same time, we don't want to give in to, certain habits. Hopefully, that makes sense. So it's just, you know, a lot of things take, micro transitions, micro changes to make a long lasting. But if we don't create the habits, the repetitive habits over time, it's just, once again, it's just something like preparing for a test, and then once the test is over, you know, back to the norm, back to the next, the next test, the next fix, the next thing to chase, right? And if we don't improve on our mindset, right, and chip away at our limiting beliefs, we're gonna be definitely, back to the same, same situation. So just imagine, once again, transformation is just, it's a marathon, and it's a marathon of of s- of many little individual sprints here and there, right? And it's not once, as I say, it's not one single leap, right? So as they say, as it was said, one step for mankind, one giant leap for mankind. Sorry, it is, once again. I'm probably be changing these when we start the next challenge. I'll probably be doing this in the morning when I have more energy, and I probably won't be doing this at night, as it's gonna be, more likely affecting my sleep, right? So I probably will be switching up these wrap up streams in the morning, talking about the day before, right? So definitely it's a lot easier to doing this because everything's fresh in the day, but at the same time, uh, it's leading into my sleep, and especially when I'm also streaming to my community on Twitch. Then yeah, we are kind of finishing around 8:30 p.m. So doing that, and then just doing a nice reset. Yeah, it's tough to stay stay awake and focus, and just once again, just bring the best quality to these wrap ups. So yeah, next challenge happening on April 6th. Once again, we will be having a 3-day workshop on March 30th next week. So I will not be streaming to my Twitch community within those 3 days. But once again, I'm hoping to serve all of you on this upcoming challenge. Just giving the introduction on day 1 on what the challenge will be about. Day 2, we now dig deeper in making sure you succeed on the challenge by creating your core values, right? Having a deep, once again, we're all made up of many things, different thought processes, different values. But if we don't establish those core values, our time, our precious time will be split up into many parts and not leading to one singular path, one North Star to just meet our end goals, right? So we'll be definitely be splitting our time, especially addressing 35,000 decisions every day. You need a way to filter through that. So we'll definitely be establishing your core values on day 2, and on day 3 we're going to utilize those core values to now talk about your end goals, right? Your end goals, how you're going to achieve, work on those goals, and then at the same time creating bigger goals to make sure that as we were saying here, just not ending on just completing a test and then just on to the next one, right? So definitely we're gonna once again just making sure that each time we hit these checkpoints we progress to something bigger, right? And once again, it's just once we achieve things for ourselves, it's one thing to give back, right? Give back, amplify, our purpose and our capacity to do even more, right? So giving back to our environment, giving back to our own community. So that's what's going to be in the 3-day workshop, and then hence we'll be doing another 90-day challenge in April up to April, May, June. So this will be hopefully the challenge that will help you if getting into your beach body, getting into just having the energy to enjoy your summer, having the mental focus to get stuff done, right? Especially now we're gonna be heading into the halfway point. Can you imagine? We're heading into the halfway point of the year. So imagine just 3 months already gone. I just felt like New Year's was just around the celebrating the New Year's around the corner. Now we're working towards the halfway point of the year. So once again, have you stayed on track with your resolutions, your new year, new me, right? Hopefully you're all on track. So definitely for me, I've lost up to 20 pounds. Obviously, Monday's staycation with the wife and kiddo, trying out different places, have put a little bit 6 pounds back on me. But I'm hoping to once again these last 10 days just cleanse that all out and get back on track. So once again, I was hoping to do 30 pounds in 90 days, but I'm as they say, you shoot for the stars and you land on the moon. I'll take that. That's still progress. So once again, this progress of this year was foundation from my progress from last summer, And now imagine just doing this challenge without the exercise, just simple walking, right? And for this challenge, once again, each challenge, each run is once again a foundation, a stepping stone to the next one, right? So say that I only got 6% from the summer challenge. Well, that 6% is that foundation for this year, right? And now I'm getting 10 to 20% this year, so now I'm up 26%, right? And each run is different, so you're not really, it's still a 90-day window, but each time is different. You're not having to start from, we'll be doing our first 5 weeks here, right? This first 5 weeks will, be foundation for a lot of people who are doing it for the first time. But the foundation, for those who are doing it second time, third time, now it's like, you're building off from the last challenge, or you're continuing from the last challenge, right? You're introducing new things, and what used to be 90 days to recover from a bad nutrition can now shrink. Once again, second challenge now shrink to looking like 60 days, and what will be 60 days becomes 1 month. And imagine you're gonna have a wonderful time with family, with friends, enjoying family events, birthdays, right, company parties, and you're able to recover in 5 to 7 days, having the ability to just enjoy, eat the food that you want, and get back on track in 5 to 7 days. But once again, it takes time. It's a marathon, and it's not like a sprint, a 100-meter dash to get that. And obviously, we want that. But if we don't have the micro habits to have those micro transformations, then it's we're swimming upstream. We're making it harder for ourselves, right? And as time goes by, we're not getting younger, and our metabolism starts slowing down as well, right? And so it's nice to be young. I think that we have time at our hands, and our metabolisms are just at its peak. But if we're piling on junk upon junk, sooner or later our minds can't keep up, and it's just kind of survival mode at that point, right? So once again, our bodies, our digestive system, it needs a break, and that's the best way it signals for that is having those moments where you're tired, you need to rest, right? Having that resting period so that you don't eat, being sick so that you don't feel like eating. Definitely, that's time that we don't like. Those are feelings that we don't enjoy. But it's the only way for our body to communicate for us to slow down, take it easy, let's heal, let's recover, right? Let's eat right, cleanse through this stuff that you've been building upon, right? So once again, it's a lot of this is not our fault, right? We are having an industry that profits on us consuming their food, their products, right? So as they say, they got it down to a science where their food tastes great, it's addictive, and at the same time, on the other side of things, like we don't know of, it lacks nutrition. So our body wants us to eat to find those nutritions, and if the meal doesn't have it, then can you imagine if you had the feeling of still being hungry after consuming something? It lacks nutrition. It tastes great, but it lacks nutrition. It's empty carbs, or it's just say no eating naked carbs. If you're gonna have to have this stuff, then make sure that you accompany it with nutrient dense food, right? So if you're gonna have a bag of chips, make sure that chips also have that tray will also have fruits and vegetables, right? And healthy options for dipping sauce, right? Eat that first, and then see and look if you still need to have a bag of chips, right? So if so, then at least you had the good stuff in, and then hopefully that minimize your exposure to uh, bad foods, junk foods, right? So once again, it's we're consuming so many information all around us, and it just feels overwhelming, and we definitely we like things simple and easy, right? So um our our body is just it's we built this thing over decades upon decades of of decisions that answering to cravings, answering to peer pressure, and not feeling wanting to be left out, right? And soon, yeah, it catches up to us at one point, and once that happens, it seems to be an uphill climb again to get back out of it. So once again, it's even once we get that established, those bad habits, there's a risk. We want to we want to get better, we want to improve, right? But at the same time, um our body, our minds, our brains is resistance to change, right? Because if it doesn't kill us, then it's for now safe, right? So definitely, it's we need to establish these micro habits, and within these micro habits, uh, we gotta acknowledge the wins as well, whether it's big, whether it's small, right? These wins can once again compound onto the next line. Crossing that finish line is just a start to something more amazing, right? So, and getting back to the test, the test is a test for for us to uh, a platform to improve on the next one. It's not a thing that we just made it, right? We just passed, right? That's all that we're happy about passing, but we're not you know um, we're not taking those instances to improve on, to build upon, right? So micro learning, micro changes, micro habits, right? Don't feel that overwhelming if you look at it, and at the same time, it's up to us to recognize the wins that come out of that as well, right? Obviously, big habit, big change, you can see humongous results, right? But once again, consistency, discipline, or here we like to call it blissifin, to just reinforce these habits that we create with happy moments, with happiness, right? And that's what that's unfortunately we've been manipulated to take these happy moments, these happy looking advertisements, and associate it with burgers, associate it with pizza, in associate with this is the cool thing to do with everyone else, but at the same time it's not convenient for our health, right? So why don't we utilize those techniques created by the food industry and utilize it for healthy eating, nutrient dense foods, right? And once again, it's food can be experienced, but at the same time, let's prioritize food as an energy source for us to want to be at our very best and 10x the experience even more, right? So, but once again, yeah, let's definitely do our part. It's not our fault that uh, we got manipulated through advertisements, through great tasting food but lacking nutrition that our body needs, because that's how we eat more, because of their food, because our bodies are searching for those nutrients, and if they can't find it in that one food, well, time to hunt for the next one as soon as possible, right? And that's one thing, that's the way our bodies communicate, because it needs certain requirements, right? So hopefully, once again, that is helpful for all of you. I definitely heading back to work tomorrow or tonight in the next under 6 hours. So I definitely enjoyed my vacation, and I just want to get back to just getting back to the grind, and just want to finish and focus on this last 10 days of the challenge. And once again, I'm happy and excited that I made some breakthroughs. If we add last year's 224 down to about uh, 194 here, then I almost lost a total of 30 pounds, right? But I'm just happy that it's we're creating those mini habits, these micro habits, and just definitely, once again, just focus on one day at a time, right? To work on ourselves each day. It doesn't have to be a lot, yeah, just one meal at a time, and then once we get that locked in, having a nutritionist meal in the morning, then we can focus on the next one, whether it's having lunch or dinner, right? Or just skipping lunch altogether, and having the dinner window, right? Especially if you eat nutrient dense foods, meeting your requirements in the morning, it'll definitely sustain you throughout the day, right? Until you head home and have your dinner, right? So hopefully this has been helpful for all of you. Once again, just imagine, just 1%, just the minimalist, the minimal thing of 1% each day, right? After after 1% each day, you're almost like 37 times better than when you started the year, right? 365 days better than, and especially once it starts snowballing and compounding, right? You're just basically a whole new person. And let's once again just utilize a year, put it into 3-month segments, and just imagine you have a new year, a year end, 4 times a year, right? So let's utilize what is given to us, utilize our calendars to work in our favor, and have those segments to reset, reclaim our path, our journey, and then rise up again, starting for the next new year, which for us in the Hive is this coming April. A new year, new challenge, and have these segments to just recharge, rejuvenate ourselves, and refocus on the next 90 days, instead of every 365 days. Right? We give ourselves that excuse to, oh, I have the whole year. I can get started much later. And until it's already November, December, and you're like, oh my gosh, now you are crunching yourself. And once again, it's not creating any habits, right? So very important that it's we're creating a positive experience, and once again trying to cram everything, like we cram for our tests on that night, the last few nights, and we're creating that stress, and stress once again is not great for ourselves, right? It goes against what we want to achieve. Right. So once again, hopefully this has been helpful for all of you. Once again, we're going to be changing stuff here, starting the challenge. So I might be doing these wrap up streams in the morning instead, so that I can properly get more sleep. And once again, sleep is just as important for our health here, right? Because that is where the healing process happens for us, right? So definitely just utilize all tools at your disposal. All right, so thank you so much for joining me tonight. Feel free to give this video the thumbs up or like if it has been beneficial to you. This is being streamed on 3 different platforms: YouTube, Facebook, and my wonderful community on Twitch. So feel free to follow and subscribe. Hit those notification buttons to be updated when I go live. You can also head over to my QR code here. That leads to my website, coachryanj.com. So yeah, stay connected, get the latest updates, and feel free to join me on my 3-day workshop that's happening on the 30th. So there is a button there on my website to sign up. It's free. It's just once again an introduction to what the 90-day challenge is, and then we're throwing 2 other bonus days of finding out what your core values are and setting up a more powerful goal setting experience. All right, so thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate all of you. Once again, feel free to head over to my websites to stay connected. And as always, continue to improve and raise up your environment so that it makes it so much easier for you to raise and grow yourself. And one day when you become that person that you always wanted to be, then you can raise your own environment, your friends, your family, your colleagues, your very own community, right? And even though you don't plan to be a leader, but your dedication to yourself has inspired a lot of people to see themselves through you, right? So be that change, be kind, because we just don't know what people are going through nowadays. Any situations can change really fast, right? And sometimes you're gonna have your life flipped over, so we just don't know what people are going through. So an act of kindness can go a long way in just supporting someone, and at the same time igniting others to reach for their goals and dreams. Thank you so much. I wish you a wonderful evening, and I will catch you on the next stream. Take good care.